On this week's episode of A Drier Dose of Disney, Jared shares with us his tips and tricks for getting a high score on Millennium Falcon Smuggler's Run, as well as a highly controversial opinion.
Welcome to this week's episode of A Drier Dose of Disney. I'm your host, Jared Dreyer, and today we are going to be talking about Millennium Falcon Smuggler's Run over at Hollywood Studios and at the Disneyland Park in Anaheim. And this is a really fun ride, but in this ride, you're going to be collecting a high score, which is very different than Toy Story Mania or Buzz Lightyear and those types of rides. But we're going to go through, we've gotten great feedback on our other episodes where we talk about how to get a high score. And we're going to talk about that today for Millennium Falcon Smuggler's Run. But in addition to that, we've got lots of tips and tricks for this ride, as well as one really unpopular opinion. And we know we're going to create some controversy with this, and we know we're going to get a lot of feedback. So you're definitely going to want to tune into this episode and listen to that. But before we jump in and give you those opinions, we do want to ask, wherever you're listening to us, find that subscribe button and subscribe to this podcast. So that way, as we update our episodes and send out new content, you're going to get that delivered into your inbox each and every week. And then down in our podcast description below, we have links to things like Patreon, where you can support the show, as well as the condo where we stay out in Orlando, amongst a lot of other things. So lots of great partners out there. We do ask that you support them and help them out as well, but go check those out in our links below. So if you're familiar, obviously, with the Disneyland Park or Hollywood Studios in Orlando, you know that they've created a Star Wars land called the Black Spire Outpost. And there are two really good rides in there. So you've got Rise of the Resistance, which is perhaps one of the most immersive rides I've ever been on in my entire life. And that one's a ton of fun, especially if you're a Star Wars fan. But they also have Millennium Falcon Smuggler's Run, which is a great chance for you and your group to pilot the Millennium Falcon spacecraft yourself and go out on a mission that Condo is the character that's telling you what to do. Hondo's going to send you out there to go collect coaxium, which is the fuel that they use to make power in this universe. It's a fun ride. It's reminiscent of Star Tours as well as some of the other simulator type rides, but this one just goes an extra step further because there's a lot of tasks you're going to be doing during this game, and you're in the cockpit of the Millennium Falcon, which is totally cool. So that's something I wanted to do my whole life growing up, and now you actually can. So we're going to share some tips and tricks as well as that really unpopular opinion here in just a few minutes. But a couple things I want to tell you about the ride before you go on it. Obviously, the queue can be lengthy because the load and unload can take a little bit. Now, they do have this really cool setup where the ride is built into these wheels where you have multiple cockpits through the same tunnel that are going to all be able to run at the same time. They actually have a Disney Plus video on this, and you can go check that out online if you have the streaming service Disney Plus. And it's going to give you how the Imagineers built this ride. So that's a really cool thing to go check out. We really love that episode. I encourage you to do that. But this ride also has single rider. And if you've heard our other episodes, I love single rider. And I'm going to tell you, you're going to have a maybe 2 to 3 minute wait if you go into single rider versus maybe a 30 to 40 minute or maybe an hour long wait if you go through the traditional line. So single rider always on this ride. Now, the downside to that is you're always going to be assigned engineer, which is one of the 3 roles we're going to talk about here in just a second. And you don't get to do the other ones, but you're going to shorten your wait time. So definitely worth it, especially if you've done it a few different times. So the layout is they take 6 of you into this cockpit. You have 2 pilots, one that's flying left and right, and one that's flying up and down. And then you have 2 gunners in the next 2 seats that are going to be shooting at the enemies out there that are flying around. And then you have 2 engineers in the back that are repairing the ship as you get shot or as you run into things. That's the layout. Every single role in this game is going to earn points. So the pilots are going to earn points for flying well and doing the mission and not hitting things. The gunners obviously are going to get points for shooting different things as they fly. And then the engineers are going to get points for harpooning the coaxium as well as repairing the ship. The maximum number of points you can get is 13,500. Most flights, if you're with a group of people that don't know what they're doing and it's chaotic, you're going to earn about 6,000 to 7,000 points. If you have a group that at least maybe has done it before or they're pretty quick at learning, you're going to get closer to that 9,000 to 10,000 point range. And then if you have a group of experts, that's when you're going to get up into the 13,000 point range. So obviously you're going to go out there and collect the coaxium. The first one, as you go through this ride, and I don't want to spoil a whole lot if you've never done it before, but I'm going to give you a couple, obviously, tips and tricks that could spoil some of it. But the first coaxium you go after is actually a gimme. Everybody's going to get it, but it can be done quickly, which gives you more time to get the future coaxiums through the rest of the game. So you definitely want to get as quick as you can as you do it, but that is going to be how you earn those points as you shoot down the other TIE fighters and get the coaxium. Now, let's talk about each of the roles and how to maximize your points on this ride. So that way you can get the highest possible score. And our big negative opinion, the opinion that we know we're going to get a lot of feedback on, is actually in the first group, and that is pilots. So for pilots, if you want to score the highest points possible, obviously you don't want to fly into anything. Now, the challenge with that is you only have the control of either left and right or up and down, and you can't do both at the same time, which would really actually help you if you had great hand-eye coordination. So you're really dependent on the other pilot, or if you're further in the back in the cockpit, both pilots to fly you in the right direction. So as they're flying, Condo's going to tell you up or down, left or right in a couple different instances, but it's really up to you to watch the screen and to know exactly where you are going. There is a tip in here that says when you first take off, you want to dive to get underneath the first rock that you're going to encounter. And that's a great tip there. And so that can help you get some points. But for the most part, people are going to run into that first one and you're going to start losing points. The good news, though, is if you run into it, you're now giving the engineer something to do. So they're going to be hitting their buttons. Here's the unpopular opinion. Every single kid that has ever ridden Millennium Falcon Smuggler's Run wants to be the pilot. And I'm going to tell you, if you are a family, so say you're a family of 3, 4, 5, or 6, if you have a kid in your party that I will say isn't at least a teenager, do not let them be the pilot. And I know little Johnny's going to be very disappointed that he doesn't get to be a pilot. But trust me, Johnny's going to be much more effective and have a better time on this ride if he's in the back seat as an engineer. And the reason I say that is the engineer role is the easiest role. He's going to have things to do, but he's going to have a more enjoyable ride. And what I mean by that is if Johnny's up there piloting, he's going to run into everything and the ride's going to feel jerky. It's going to feel bouncy. It's not going to be pleasant. It's not going to be fun. You're going to be all over the place and it's not an enjoyable event then. It's not fun for anyone in there when little Johnny's up there on the control panel driving back and forth. So I'm going to say, don't ever let your kids pilot this craft. Not only that, if you have fewer than 6 people, you're going to be paired with other people. And if you're given the privilege of being in the front and having the pilot seats, you're going to piss off the other people that are riding with you that want to do if you're letting your kids be the pilot. So I'm going to tell you, adults should be the pilot, and you need to explain this to your kids before you get in line and say, as we go through this, the pilot role is difficult. It is something that is going to impact the ride for not only you, but for everyone else. And you want them to have a good time as well. So you want to give them a job that they can actually be successful at. And again, this is helping them be successful. We're not trying to teach them it's okay to fail at this point in life. We want to teach them, hey, you can be successful doing other things other than exactly what you want. So that's the unpopular opinion. Please, I want to hear the feedback. If you disagree with this and you think I'm a jerk, please give us comments on that. And I'm happy to interact with you and tell you why you are wrong, because you are in fact wrong if you think little Johnny should be the pilot. And yes, it's great to get the picture of Johnny up at the front seat, holding onto the pilot stick. And you can still do that if you want to, right? When you're going in there, say, hey, go hop up there. I'll take a quick picture. But Johnny, you are not going to be the pilot. You need to be in the back seat. Like I said, it makes the ride terrible if you don't. And if you have a group of 6 and you want to endure your kid being the pilot and have a miserable ride and not impact anyone else, that's fine. But I can tell you from somebody who's ridden this at least 50 different times, that when I get in the ride and I see a kid up front, I just want to tell the cast member, like, forget about it. Like, I'd rather go do something else. Now, the times that I get in and I'm with a group of teenagers, college age kids, or a whole group of adults, or the adults are up front, we have a much better time and we get a much higher score. So I'm going to tell you, if you're interested in the score, keep the kids off the pilot seat. Okay. They're going to be fine in the back. The next tip on this as a pilot is the moves there's a little bit of a delay. And the moves are gradual. So you don't want to jerk the stick left or right, because then you're going to be going way off screen. What you want to do is do gradual movements, but you want to do them in advance of what you need to do. So as you see the rock falling, like I said at the beginning, you want to do a dive if you're on the up and down. But as you come to other things ahead in your path, you want to move in advance of them and move gradually. That's going to help you a lot. I will also tell you that the left pilot is more difficult than the right pilot. And the left pilot also has a button for brakes. There is a part when you're getting the first coaxium and it's going to drag you off a ledge and Hondo's yelling at the brakes. You need to hit the brakes to get more points. That's also going to keep your ship in better condition, and that's going to save you more points later in the game. So the more advanced pilot should sit on the left and be ready to hit the brakes button. Now, the pilot on the right does get to do the jump to hyperspace. That's cool, but you don't get any points for that, and it's not critical to the mission at all. So just know that as you go in. Gunners. Okay, so you're the second seats. You're in the middle. When you activate, so at the beginning, it's going to tell you to hit your button to activate. It's going to give you two options. You're going to have an option for auto aim, or you're going to have an option for manual aim. Now, manual aim is going to give you more points. Auto aim is easier. So I'm going to tell you, if this is your first time riding it, you may want to do the auto aim so that way you can just smash buttons and shoot as much as you want. And it's going to shoot at the bad guys for you as long as you're hitting the button. If you've done the flight at least once, I would say, but you feel more comfortable in the cockpit, I'm going to tell you, you're going to get a lot more points if you do manual aim. And the way that this works is you have 3 white vertical buttons, and those buttons represent shooting towards the top of the screen, shooting at the middle of the screen, and shooting at the bottom of the screen. You don't have to line up any crosshairs. You don't have to do anything else like that. But what you're doing is you're selecting, am I shooting at the top, middle, or bottom of the screen? That, again, is going to get you the most points. The fewer shots you take that are hitting ships and killing them, the better your score is going to be. So you want to do that correctly and go after it. Now, you do have a large orange button. That is not the firing button. That is for your torpedoes, and those are only used once. So you're going to use the white buttons on the side of the screen that are vertical as your firing, shooting buttons. At one point during the game, just like we were talking about where Hondo tells you to hit the brakes for the left pilot, you're going to have one point in the game where it's going to tell you to shoot torpedoes, and that's when you're going to hit the orange button, and it's going to light up for you when that happens. Now, in the back of the ship, you've got your engineers. This one is the most self-explanatory. It's pretty straightforward, but basically anytime something lights up and it's got a green flashing symbol or a different flashing symbol around it, you're going to want to hit the button to clear that issue. So as you're flying, sometimes maybe it's the engine, hyperdrive, cooling system, something's going to go down and you're going to get 3 or 4 different buttons to hit. So yes, you're watching the action take place, but keep an eye on that console. And as you see buttons light up, and usually you're going to hear an alarm or a whistle as well, you're going to want to start hitting those buttons and clearing that alarm. And it's going to tell you that you cleared it on your screen as that happens. Now, you also have a big orange button, and this is for your harpoons. And as you're flying, you're going to come up behind a car with coaxium in it, and he's going to tell you to shoot your harpoons. That is the orange button. And if you watch the screen, it will line the car up in your sights. So you don't want to shoot the harpoon until it's right in the middle. And when you do shoot the harpoon, it's going to hook to that car and you're going to be all set. Now, on the second one that you're shooting at, once you shoot it, he's going to tell you to keep hitting the button, and that's going to send this like electrical charge to dislodge that cart. On the first one, you don't have to do that. So know when you shoot your harpoons, you can keep hitting that orange button as much as you want, and that's going to help you get that coaxium a little bit easier, and that's going to help your score as well. So I'm going to encourage you when he says shoot the harpoon, get it lined up, and then just keep smashing that button as much as you can. So that is how you're going to get the maximum score out of this game, is by getting good pilots in place. That is the most important because that's where the most points are. Again, your kids should not be pilots. If you disagree, come find me online and disagree. But good pilots are where you're going to get the best score. So make sure you put your best people up front. Number 2 on score is going to be your gunners. And you're going to get it if you do manual aim, top, middle, bottom buttons is where you're shooting on the screen, and then hitting the button for the torpedoes later when you need it. And then engineers in the back, your goal is just clear the buttons as they pop up, and then harpoon the coaxium when you get that opportunity. And when you get back to the landing zone, you're going to probably have a much, much higher score than anyone else that you've ever. And again, you're going to have a much higher score than other people that you know that may have ridden this in the past, and you're going to have great bragging rights with them. Now, what I encourage you to do is if you do have a really large group, you should be competing on this. And I'm telling you, you should go through the standard queue in that instance to make sure you have a full 6 seats with your people where you can designate where everyone is. And then there's tons of videos out there on YouTube that you can watch that will also give you a lot of these same tips and tricks. With that, that brings me to our I can do this all day tip of the day. And on this ride, there's actually a really cool feature that not many people know about, and that is Chewbacca mode or Chewie mode. So as if you've ridden it, you've got Hondo telling you, go get the coaxium, and he's going to give you directions all the way through the ride. You can actually swap out Hondo for Chewbacca, and you're going to hear Chewbacca roar commands at you, which obviously you're not going to understand throughout the whole ride, but it is a really cool feature to unlock. And when you actually come off the ride, every time I've done it, I've had the cast members congratulate me on getting Chewie mode unlocked and asking me, how was it? Did you have a good time with Chewie mode? Because this is such a tough thing to do. I'm going to tell you right now how to do it. And so write this down or remember it. And it's not difficult to remember, but you're going to want to remember it when you go to ride this ride. And the way that it works is when you go into your seats and you get buckled up and they check you all in, every seat, all 6 are going to have to activate, meaning they're going to have to hit a button to activate. And it is in how you activate. So if you are a pilot, if you are the left-right stick, you want to push that stick all the way, either way. So all the way to the left or all the way to the right, and then hit your activate button with it all the way to the side. If you're the up-down pilot, same thing, you want to push your stick all the way up or pull it all the way down and hold it there while you're hitting your activate button. For the other 4 seats, it's identical. So whether you're a gunner or an engineer, what you want to do is you want to hold down one of the white buttons underneath your screen and hold it while you hit your activate button. If you can get all 6 people to follow this, you are going to activate Chewbacca mode, and you're going to know, because when the game starts, you're just going to hear Chewbacca the entire time. So that's a really cool feature. It's a kind of an Easter egg that's hidden there. And it's a great way to make this game a little bit more unique and a little bit more challenging for those that have maybe ridden it before. So with that, we wish you a magical week as you're planning your next Disney vacation. As you're planning that vacation, start talking to your kids now about the fact that when you ride Millennium Falcon Smuggler's Run, your kids are not going to be the pilots. They're going to be the engineers. You're going to put them in the back. And have a great week, and we'll talk to you guys next time. Bye-bye.